Today we're talking about how to keep your salad toppings fresh for weeks. This lettuce here is actually 4 or 5 weeks old at this point, and listen. So this is from February. These are actually from January, and it's the beginning of March right now. So these are around 8 weeks old. Totally fresh. I'll do it one more time. So these are carrots. We have celery. The celery I picked up on this grocery shopping trip. I'm gonna snap this for you too. Maybe. These are some of the items that I keep rotated in my fridge all of the time. The carrots, I bought like a big 10-pound bag, and this is what we have left of them. And then I always buy a new head of romaine lettuce every time we go grocery shopping. And I purposely have tried not to use the rest of this lettuce up so we could use it for a speaking event. And it just makes it handy to show you guys too that this lettuce can last over a month. And then celery is another one that normally will last around that 6-week mark. If you notice, I don't have any water in these containers. So I get asked all of the time if I store them in water. I do not store them in water because our tap water has chlorine and fluoride in it, and I don't want that soaked up into our plants, and there's no need for it. So you don't need to soak them in water. They will stay totally fresh in a glass container. I use the Pyrex glass containers with the snap-on lids, or you can put them in a glass mason jar and they will stay fresh for weeks. We only go grocery shopping once every 3 weeks. So that way I can easily say, oh, these are 6 weeks old because I didn't get them on this grocery shopping trip. They were from the previous one. We have a lettuce washing video that we will link in the description to tell you exactly how we wash our greens. So in our refrigerator, I keep this basket, this acrylic basket, and it will hold 6 jars in there. So these are quart-sized jars. And I like the wide mouth that I can put items in and my hand fits in it. Mike's hand doesn't fit as easily as mine does, but the wide mouth quart jars is pretty much the only thing that I buy anymore. And then these are wide mouth 1.5-pint size jars. They're also called asparagus jars. And they both take the same size lid, which is way over there. Let me grab it. So both of these jars take a wide mouth. They always have writing on them. They take a wide mouth lid and a ring. So I put those on these jars and they go straight into my refrigerator, and I can easily pull this whole thing back out and grab anything that I want. So we normally call this the salad basket in our house, and everybody knows that anything that I have cut up that I want people to eat, I put into this basket so they know to grab it for snacks. One of the things I put in there is cherry tomatoes. Yes, I keep cherry tomatoes in the refrigerator. I know, a lot of people will disagree with me, but if you keep them in a jar with no paper towel, they will stay fresh for over a month. You can have fresh cherry tomatoes in the refrigerator for weeks. So if they're garden-sized tomatoes that I only get in the summertime, I leave those out on the counter, or they can change the taste and the texture of them. So I'm just gonna put these in the jar. I did wash these when I brought them home, and it kills off any mold spores that might be on them, so they're just all ready to eat. Radishes are another thing. I cut off the greens and then I left them whole. You can also slice these and they'll stay fresh for about a week. I typically just put them whole into the jar. They'll stay fresh for around a month, and I just cut them as I go. And we use these roasted sometimes instead of potatoes. So if I cut them up for salads, then I don't necessarily use them for a replacement like in a dinner. So I like to keep them whole so it's more versatile. Then we have some peppers here. I normally get like a lot of peppers at a time, like 6 to 8 of them. I will keep those on a shelf in my refrigerator, and normally in a basket away from some of the other produce items. After I bring them home and wash them, it'll kill off any mold spores that are up at the top. That's where the mold spores typically seem to last, but they will stay not wrinkly for about 2 weeks. And then once you go to cut them, then I put them in a glass jar. So if I only need to use half of it, or if I'm mixing up different peppers and I only want to have half, then I will go ahead and slice or chop them up, and I'll put them in a glass jar, and they stay fresh another like 5 to 7 days. with a metal lid on them. So sometimes they'll last all the way to 10 days. It just depends on if they were wrinkly beforehand and already starting to deteriorate, or if they were super fresh. So that way I have fresh peppers the whole entire 3-week grocery cycle too. I get asked about cucumbers all of the time. All of the time. So cucumbers are one that I definitely bring home. I get out of the plastic and I wash in the vinegar wash. I wash all these things in the vinegar wash, but I wash in the vinegar wash. It doesn't fit in my bowl all the way, so I make sure that I put it in halfway so it's covered with the water halfway for 2 minutes, and then I flip it over and I do it another 2 minutes so the whole entire thing has been soaked for 2 minutes in the water. And then I will put these in my crisper drawer. Normally I'm in the crisper drawer with things like cauliflower, zucchini, what else do I keep in there? Cauliflower, cabbage, like vegetables. In the crisper drawer with these, and they don't deteriorate as quickly. And as I slice it up, I make sure to keep the skin on it, and it will help it stay fresher longer. So it normally stays fresh for about 2 weeks in the crisper drawer, and then as I go to slice it, it will stay another 5 to 7 days if I take the skin off, and 7 to 10 days if I keep the skin on the cucumber. So again, you can have cucumbers that are fresh for the entire 3 weeks. If you do the same 3-week grocery shopping cycle that we do. Anyways, this is how we have fresh salad toppings in our house at all times. We hope that you enjoy these. We have blog links that go with this, and don't forget to check out our book, I Bought It Now What, which has all of the top produce items and all of the different instructions on how I store items, because some items I keep with a paper towel, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's really important if it has a metal lid, and other times it doesn't matter as much. So all of those details are in our book, which is available on thecrosslegacy.com. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this with friends. We put out new content all the time to help you save money on groceries. Just a reminder, when I get cucumbers, I wash them whole, and then I will slice them later and put them in a jar. I've had a couple followers that have sent me pictures of their drying of their produce, and they have their cut cucumbers out to dry. They're not going to dry, and so they're going to remain wet. They don't need a paper towel. You just put them in a jar as you cut them and put a lid on them.